lot of shit. This tank's been growing through the roof. I've been actually just sort of experimenting with one thing, which is dosing sodium phosphate dibasic. So I know you could go buy Brightwell Neophos and spend an arm and a leg on that. Phosphate is so cheap. It is probably one of the cheapest additives just for the quantity that we actually need. So just to put it in perspective, this is 2.8 grams in this liter of DI water. 5 mils will raise the phosphate in a 500 liter system by 0.02 ppm. So it's just pennies on the dollar. This stuff is so cheap. So I've just been dosing about 0.02 to 0.04 ppm a day and just trying to kind of buffer it up to around 0.1 to 0.2 just to see what happens. And like, definitely growth has gone through the roof, I would say.
Wow.
Hyper anecdotally.
So
but
what, I don't understand. What is your nitrate level?
and the nitrates are around 30.
And that's NO3N minus, right? That's what
That's
everyone.
just no. That's nitrate as a nitrate anion. That's not nitrate nitrogen. There's two ways. It's two different measures you can measure nitrate. So the HANA high range checker will measure the nitrate anion. The Mastertronic will measure the nitrate anion. So that's ppm of NO3 minus.
So what are you giving the number in? NO3 minus or NO3 minus N?
NO3 minus.
Okay, good. Okay, that's the one that everyone uses.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's how I've done all my other calculations. I dose calcium nitrate to the system. So because it naturally just starts to teeter out. So I'll correct, 3 to 10 ppm at a time, and I'll just dump it in and goes back up to 30-ish. I don't really fucking care.
You're a smart guy. You're a serious guy that serious people take seriously. What the fuck is going on with these low numbers? How phosphate? How is your phosphate below 0.05?
Oh no, it wasn't. No. So my phosphates normally sit around. They just naturally kind of stayed around 0.06 to 0.08, and sometimes they'll go lower, and I have to bring it up to something. So
how is it going lower?
I believe the corals are consuming it. So there is elevated pH in the system. So, one thing that is happening, I am dosing lye or sodium hydroxide. So
What's your I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
I'm so excited. I want to just keep asking questions. I have to let you finish your sentences.
No, so the pH bottoms out at 8.2. I did that by design because I'm like, I'll try. I just kind of fucked around with things until fucked around in a really gentle, sensitive way. But I set it up to dose. It's 85 mils of dilute sodium hydroxide in the evening. That the pH drops to about 8.2, and then during the day it'll go up to maybe 8.48, 8.5, which is
how are you feeding?
So there's an auto feeder on there that feeds, I think I mix 3 or 4 brands of pellets together. So there's just a variety. So that will dump in 2 or 3 times a day. And then I feed a variety of frozen foods in the evening.
In a handful size of food.
A handful.
Say it's a handful.
Okay.
How much food is going in a day? A percentage of a handful.
Of a Texas food bowl.
Yeah. Because grams means nothing to people, so we got to give them some kind of, and a cup means nothing, but most people have a hand, except for diabetics.
Like a nice palm full of food a day.
How tall in the palm?
Maybe about that. I mean, that's the problem. These are like you're comparing a pellet, which is like hyper dried, to a liquid thing.
No,
like,
I don't. I'm just.
I don't know, like that much, that high.
See, I don't get what's going on in people's systems. I just feed the fuck out of everything, like more than handfuls, and phosphate and nitrate's always higher. So
But yeah,
I'm just confused, and I'm trying to understand if it makes more sense to add phosphate and nitrogen or just fucking feed more. So I'm just confused about, for a billion years we couldn't keep it low, and now people are keeping it too low and having problems getting it high, and I'm just confused about the whole situation.
well, I guess for me, like I'm, looking at the size of my generally semi-obese fish. They're they're getting enough food. Um,
I know what it is.
I don't know how to, you know, see how healthy my corals are in terms of their food. I don't think we have those tools, especially as a
I mean,
hobby.
are you doing anything to actively combat phosphate levels?
No, no, there's nothing. I have two reactors in there. If I'll run carbon when I remember to, and then GFO. Back in the day, the tank definitely in its early time had, high phosphate. I just throw a little bit of GFO in there and that was fine. But right now, no, nothing.
And you're not. Do you have any NPS? Any corals that need? No. Okay.
I said no. I want easy
Oh.
to feed. I want easy shit. Like I'm like I love liquid solutions. I have a pipetter here. I mean, this to me is like that's fun. This is a fun part for me. So feeding to me is not fun.
Got it.
This to me is fun. But again, I'm a laboratory scientist, so like that's different for different people.
Yeah.
Like I enjoyed making this up and
Right.
making it cool, and I enjoyed dosing it, and it's so cheap. Like it's cheaper than food. I'll say that.
Yeah. I bet you that's it. I bet you because I'm feeding. I mean, I think heterotrophic feeding of even Acropora, because you're a laboratory scientist, I'm going to say it like that, is really important. And I think if you're and if you have NPS, then you're just feeding the crap out of the tank. Then I think you've got no problem keeping those levels up or too high. I just find it so interesting that we're going the other way. I think most people are probably underfeeding their corals. I doubt you are, but I think maybe the answer is you've got corals that probably don't need a shit ton of food.
Yeah, no. I mean, like the Scalemia in the front, I'll target feed them every once in a while, but it's not like it's not all the time. I don't really have time for that. It is involved.
Yeah.
Target feeding is not does take time. Um,
Because
but
I'm
I
feeding,
I made sure I didn't buy things like that because I know I wouldn't be able to take care of them the way I do my husbandry. I'm like, I'm not keeping things that are really fastidious in terms of their dietary requirements or that need hyper frequent feeding. I'm like, they'll just die because I know I don't want to do that.
right. So just this tank is getting half a teaspoon. No, is it half a teaspoon? No, it's got to be more than a teaspoon. Yeah, it's getting this scoop, which is like a tenth of a Texas food bowl. Just that one tank is getting that at least once a day.
Okay. That's and what is the powder?
The powder. Oh, does this say on here what it is? Wouldn't that be exciting?
Or informative?
9 cc's. That's not useful in any way.
9 mil.
9 mil. It's a mix of a bunch of powdered foods I had laying around.
Oh,
And then the rest of the system gets flake a couple times a day and then gets, that much frozen food.
Damn.
I'm going to need to quantify all this because I'm really interested in all this shit.
back to the phosphate. I'm just toying around with it, bringing up the levels. And yeah, it's for me, it's cheap and easy. I can understand for a lot of other people, this would be so outside of like, I mean, like, I think you'd be crazy to go pay for Neophos. And if you're having to dump bottles in that a day, I mean, Jesus, that's going to be 10 times as expensive as food.
Well, how much is a how much is the bulk phosphate you use to make that solution?
I got a hyper grade. I mean, hyper grade. It was like 99% or more pure, and it had a trace metals certificate of analysis. So when you're buying chemicals, you can actually, A, you can pick your purity. B, you can pick the purity based on category. So like sometimes they'll offer like a heavy metals analysis, you know, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, I probably don't really want that, but it was still cheap. I think it was 40 or 50 bucks for half a kilo.
Yeah.
And then this is a liter that's, you know, 3 grams of the kilo, or 3 grams of the 500 grams.
And how much is neophos?
I think,
I can look that up myself.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's like 20 bucks for 200 mils or something.
Okay.
But those 200 mils, I think I looked at the concentration. Would be a half or a quarter of what this is. It's dilute. It's really dilute.
Okay. So it's
Which is-
like it's like caulk. If you don't want to think, or sodium bicarb or carbonate, if you don't want to think, you just buy it and it tells you on the thing a recommended dosage. Hopefully that's correct for their dilution. And if you do want to think, you just make it yourself.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, for manufacturers, it's smart to make some of these supplements dilute, because the average hobbyist isn't going to have the accuracy to add these. And if they don't really know what they're doing, I mean, you can fuck shit up quickly.
Reef beef, you can fuck shit up quickly.